of aluminum. Till that very last scan, he spots a nice chunk of iron. Sorry, not iron. Carbon, guys. I'm still waking up to Offworld at the moment. I should have done a couple games before hopping into this. Good chunk of carbon available for Soren. Even though he is tucked into that northwestern corner, he will have plenty of his base materials available for researching. My primary concern for him is he doesn't seem to have fantastic access to anything like silicon or water. How much silicon is actually on this map? I spotted one high tile. There has to be more than one high tile. Okay, here we go. It's just very difficult to see on the snow background. So we do have some silicon available, not a huge amount. These two players might end up fighting over it quite a bit, depending on exactly how late the game goes. They're also both rushing to this medium water tile, but I don't think Aja is going to quite make it. Soren manages to catch it up, because as far away as Soren was from that clump of water, Aja was even farther, as he didn't bother to fully explore the map before choosing his location. Claim auction going to come out. These two players, both fairly familiar with the game. I would expect this claim auction to get pushed rather high. Yeah, Aja getting a little bit bored with waiting around. He wants to hop right back into the action. Just going to bid it up for us. Push it closer to the price it'll actually go for. 18,000. Is Aja going to push for the 20? I'd be a little, yeah. I'm a little surprised that Aja didn't push for the 20. Apparently not quite confident in handling that amount of debt early in the game. SorenJohnson, on the other hand, going to grab it up for 18,000. That's just a reasonably priced claim on over to him. He is also, interestingly enough, interested in securing this high silicon tile immediately. Now, I'm kind of concerned about this. For both players, a lot of important resources are positioned very far away from their bases. That is going to be costing them quite a bit extra in debt that maybe they're not going to be preparing for. Fuel is one of those things that can get away from people quite easily. They won't really notice it slipping through their fingers all the time. Soren also going to go ahead and secure 2 water locations with his silicon, and just going to throw down a quick little electrolysis reactor. This is a bit concerning for me. It might make some small amount of money right now in reality, but with the cost of water combined with the cost of power, yeah, this is losing $11 a second once it turns online. Thankfully for Soren, he either can't afford or does not have any water at the moment, so his electrolysis reactor is choosing not to cost him any amount of money. Whereas over in Aja's camp, we can see that he's gotten down the very standard 3 steel mills, 2 iron mines, 1 aluminum mine, and 1 water pump. He's going to add another little water pump to that. Both players just kind of blocking each other off from getting that perfect little triangle of adjacency bonuses for their water. And Soren going to have a slight advantage there. His water's a bit closer to him. He's got a medium and a low instead of a low and a low. But let's be honest, both these guys are going to be bringing down water's price very quickly, as long as they keep selling out of it. And Aja's the one who got there first. So even with Soren's advantageous production, Aja might be the one to get the slight edge in this area. So we can also see Aja, because he was a lot faster to go ahead and get his claims used. As the expansive player, he has managed to already push HQ level 3. He's just going to be taking a couple of close silicon locations. Going to have strong production on both of those tiles. For silicon, they're going to be a lot closer to his base than a few other things are this game. Not going to be costing as much fuel, which is going to be nice for him. Actually, a 4th steel mill coming down. Just wanting to make sure he's using up all of his iron, I suppose. He's actually going to be purchasing iron off the market for a while based on this play. And while iron's currently $7, he is definitely going to have to watch out for that. Underground nuke coming down on Soren's water. That is a very aggressive play. Saying, all right, you can take the medium tile. I can nuke a medium just as well as I can nuke a low. And suddenly that advantage is dissipating very, very quickly for Soren. Taking that tile, just costing Aja $4,000 and some small access to the black market in order to get that done. Alright, geothermal auctions going down. Both players once again valuing this reasonably, but that's probably a bit cheap for Soren. Now, he had already put down a geothermal plant, so it's quite possible that Soren wouldn't have bid that up too much more, given that he had already committed 1 tile to power, but a $10,000 claim for just enough power to last you basically the rest of the game is still a bit of a bargain, and Aja's probably going to want to push a little bit harder on these things in order to not allow Soren to run away with his advantages. More water pumps coming down for Aja. That's a bit of a concern. Water's price will drop very rapidly with this much water flying into the market and not being consumed. Now, Soren has switched his electrolysis reactor into a glass furnace, which is actually managing to make very, very small amounts of money at the moment due to Silicon's exceptionally low price. And he has also moved into electrolysis reactors. These are the only things on the map that are going to be making money that's really noteworthy right now. Aja's, in fact, transferring his steel into electrolysis as well. Might have been a bit of a mistake to commit to 4 steel mills when there's really no pressure on that market besides yourself driving that price up. So both players in the reactor market, both of them going to be looking to make as much money as they can off of it. However, Soren getting into it first, but Aja with the additional reactor. It's very difficult to say who's going to come out on top here, but it is noteworthy that Soren's only pulling in about 2 to 2.2 fuel a second. Yeah, about 2 fuel a second. Whereas Aja is pulling in on average nothing because all of his stuff just got power surged. Strong play out of Soren there. That's likely going to be far more effective at shutting down Aja's economy than Aja's earlier underground nuke will be on affecting Soren's economy, considering especially the fact that water is already very cheap. It's probably not coming back up anytime soon. Might have been better to commit those $4,000 to something like an additional claim, a power surge for later, a goon squad for later. All of these things are certainly reasonable. Soren also, should be noted, has an EMP saved up already and has gone ahead and pushed through to HQ level 4. So we can see kind of that benefit of just managing to get into the money-making opportunity a bit earlier than Aja and shutting down Aja in the process has paid off very well for Soren. Already on HQ level 4, outstripping an expansive player after having founded second and gotten nuked. Things are going relatively well, but Aja is not far behind. He does manage to push to HQ level 4 as well. This, of course, grants him more claims than Soren. An HQ level 4 expansive player almost certainly has some form of advantage over an HQ level 4 scavenger. Both players also not acquiring too much debt so far this game, just about 50,000 apiece. Very, very similar amounts of debt. Interestingly enough, Aja, despite not going after all those auctions, seriously? Nothing for the geotherm guys? Okay, look, it's worth $3,000. Seriously, it's worth $3,000. I realize Soren hasn't used this one yet, but still, it's worth $3,000. Let's just be honest here. They should have taken that. It's all right. It is interesting to note, though, that Soren has had his power online much longer, and so despite going after those auctions more aggressively than Aja has, Aja is the one who has ended up with more debt, as he has been consuming, well, more fuel, transporting this water, and of course, more power, given that he did not have power on for an extended period of time. I'm also very concerned about the fact that Aja, now HQ level 4, trying to move into additional buildings in order to make money, does not have any steel production available, which would certainly be worth at least something at this stage of the game. Soren's starting to get a little bit aggressive on stock. He definitely is in a position to be able to do so, considering he has already managed to move into the highly lucrative hydroponic farms. In combination with the glass furnaces and reactors, with their both still making some amount of money. He's got the advantage this game, and he's wanting to press it early, doesn't want the game to last much longer than it absolutely has to. However, Aja has managed to shut down the food production for the time being. Even with this one last farm online for Soren in about 6 seconds here, he will only be producing off of that farm at half rate due to the current dust storm, and so it's quite possible that Aja is still solidly in this game. Moving into more steel mills, moving into farms of his own, he already has glass furnaces down, and his power should be paying off his debt reasonably well. About 100 a second. Not going to actually get fully paid off, but at least it'll beef up his stock price a little bit so he can't get knocked out of the game immediately. We can see that Soren's stock buying aggressiveness got halted in its tracks by this power surge on his food, and he may simply at this point be looking to expand a little bit further into HQ level 5 rather than pushing for the victory immediately. However, he did scrap some of his carbon production in order to get his food quite so well established, and so it is also very possible that he doesn't really want to get to HQ level 5. It's going to be very expensive for him. It's going to be very difficult to move back into, and he might be stuck at HQ level 4, and if Aja can stall him out long enough and survive, push to HQ level 5 as the expansive player, get even more benefits going, then that's not going to go Soren's way. All right, Soren gives up. He says, no, I'm not going for the kill. Let's get back into carbon. And that's exactly the move he's going to make. New claim auction available. available. Still looking to see Aja get a bit more aggressive on these claim auctions. It's scary when someone's attacking your stock to go ahead and commit to, yes, I will take on additional debt. However, I do think it's necessary. You cannot allow another player to simply be getting every single advantage that's tossed their way this game. You need to press them as hard as you can, and at least as hard as you think you can, in order to not let them run away with the game. Once again, another auction going to Soren. A bit of a discount on that claim. Only 14,000 debt. Just barely more expensive than even a new claim from the black market at the moment. And Soren's putting up a really solid fight so far this game. Aja with the slightly higher stock price now, paying off his debt fairly effectively with his power, also generating food now, so that's not giving him quite so much per second. But Soren still with already a 3 stock advantage. Things are not looking good at the moment for Aja. Oh wow, even moving out of power at the moment and back into iron just to power his steel production. Yeah, things are getting a little scary when you don't have quite so many claims as you would expect over your opponent. This food, it should be noted, is back online, working quite effectively in Soren's favor. He will be able to push through on this for a large amount of Aja's stock if he wishes. Just because you can't, how do you fight off, what, $700, $600 a second perhaps? Off of these tiles? It's incredible. Very difficult to deal with. Even though Aja does have food of his own, being 4 stocks down and being constantly attacked by a scavenger player who's already in a dominant position makes life very, very difficult for an expansive player. Now, Aja does have some amount of funds, 5 claims available as he just managed to hit HQ level 5, a large amount of very valuable water available, which he is actually likely storing up in order to damage Soren's food production and try and keep him from being able to finish the game even faster. However, my concern is that Soren already has half of Aja's stock purchased. He is halfway to finishing this game, which is very close indeed in a 1v1, and Aja is going to have to sell off something in order to secure his own stock and manage to acquire some of it for himself and push to the later stages of this game where his claim advantage can really shine through. We saw the hint of a reactor coming down for Aja, but it looks like he scrapped this idea. Not entirely sure what to do with these final 3 tiles. It looks like he might even be considering something like a hacker array, might even be considering something like a pleasure dome with one of these claims, given that he has 20 electronics stored up from somewhere. But it just turns out Aja's going to move into even more farms. Interestingly enough, this will keep driving that water price up. It's encouraging Soren on into water production of his own. However, Soren doesn't know that Aja was sitting on a massive stockpile of water. He goes ahead and sells out after Soren completes his ice condensers, and suddenly these tiles do not have the value Soren was expecting. And he's actually moving into even more ice condensers, perhaps not realizing that the game has changed from 3 seconds ago. Aja manages to secure 4 of his own stock. He pushes for the 5th. He is still alive in this game with a nice little trick on Soren, storing up quite a bit of his resources and pressing Soren into a rather bad position in terms of where he has committed his tiles and his resources for the time being. So, that said, Soren has managed to push to HQ level 5 at this point. He will have plenty of claims available, and he's even canceling some of his planned ice condensers, realizing that $3 water is not really worth gathering out of the ground. Pirates going on over to, I believe that was Soren who acquired them. Yes, he's got the pirates. So once again, Aja letting an auction go by that perhaps he shouldn't have. However, there's really nothing to pirate at the moment. And so it could have just been a large chunk of debt going over to Soren that will never really see a solid payout this late in the game, with just expansives and scavengers in the game. Nighttime, these ice condensers, even more useless than during the day, only making about $20 a second when they're online. And of course, right now, doing absolutely nothing for Soren. Farms are still making decent money, but certainly not what they were a good 5 minutes ago. And we're going to have to start seeing transitions into some special buildings, I think, out of these players in order to finish up this game. We can see Aja's got a pleasure dome up that's losing him a solid $20 a second right now. He's let power get a little bit out of control, and unfortunately for Aja, it looks like what's going to happen in this game so far is he has let power get a little out of hand, and his debt has skyrocketed to $144,000. Noticing this, he's moving into solar panels instead of chem labs, but I'm concerned that it's going to be too little too late. Those interest payments have already piled up. His debt is extremely high. His stock price is dropping so quickly in response to this. It was higher than Soren's for quite some time, but now, it can't be said anymore. These solar panels are going to have to do serious work in order to bring Aja's stock price back to a reasonable level so Soren can't go for a sudden buyout. Electronics factory is coming down for Soren. Very reasonable. Electronics should be rather profitable and nice plus $4 right now without any adjacency bonuses. Much better than electronics usually are, considering, you know, it's not negative 30. I would like to see some more reactors coming down out of Soren, I would think. He's already got some of the water production down. Reactors are a nice, obvious amount of cash right now, while these electronics are only at a base plus 12 at the moment. The reactors instead are a nice plus 25. Just something to think about. Interestingly enough, Soren has also secured some iron production away from Aja by mutinying his iron mine. And that's just damaging Aja's steel production a little bit. Iron quite valuable. Also just damaging his iron production. If Aja had control of both of these tiles, it would be a significant amount of cash in his pocket. But since he doesn't, the game's just a little bit different right now. More electrolysis reactors coming down for Aja. He has identified the single most valuable building in the game. However, electronics continuing to rise for the moment and should continue to do so for quite some time, given that advanced buildings become more and more useful as the game continues into these late stages. Aja and Soren both going after Soren's stock for the moment. It would not surprise me very much to see that stock secured completely before this game is out by one player or the other. Thinking Machines has become available. This is potentially an extremely important patent at this stage of the game, with a scavenger player available and buildings like Offworld markets and hacker arrays certainly viable by this time. Thinking Machines can do a lot for a player, but it is Soren who is going to go ahead and secure it away. He, in fact, has begun an Offworld market. It's about halfway complete right now. Already a Goon Squad protecting it. And so Thinking Machines, even if Soren lets Goon Squad slide for a little while, tries to cut that corner and gets punished for it, he won't be punished very hard, because any black market coming his way will only have half effect on his Offworld market. Pirates have finally gone ahead and spawned. Looks like they're going to be targeting Aja's water for the time being. Soren actually selling out of Aja's stock. That's very interesting. Aja going to secure some of his own stock back. One has to wonder why Soren made that choice in particular. I almost feel like that would have been a misclick, because I can't tell why Soren would be so interested in selling off some of his lead that he had taken early in this game. Dynamite already landing on Soren's Offworld the moment it completes. Even if one of those is to connect at some point to this game, it's not going to be particularly effective, and I'm very concerned about Aja at this stage. He does not have an Offworld market of his own. He does not have a hacker array. He is only now moving into an engineering lab. He has not managed to take any serious advantage in this game, other than the fact that he is in fact an expansive player, and therefore has a very large amount of tiles. But what those tiles are doing at the moment is, one is losing a significant amount of money, two of them are completely empty, another is mutinied away. And so I'm not seeing Aja's edge yet. He's going to have to do something just a little bit creative in order to keep up with Soren's Offworld market. It should also be noted that all of the stock in this game has finally been secured. Soren with a definite, if slight, advantage in that section of gameplay, given that he has 7 of his own stock secured and 4 of his opponents, leaving only 9 total in the hands of Aja. Solar panels coming back down for Aja. He has successfully paid off some amount of his debt. However, one has to worry about the fact that he keeps scrapping out of these solar panels, considering he is almost certainly going to have to pay off this debt at some stage in this game in order to fend off Soren, who is halfway to acquiring Aja with a goal price of 218,000. Dynamite does land on the Offworld this time. That is going to need to be repaired. Fortunately for Soren, it can be repaired very, very quickly, but it will be some time before he makes any further profit off of that building. Aja, on the other hand, Aja is sitting on about a $300,000 buyout for Soren, so Soren's goal of 236 is looking very attainable at the moment for him, as long as he can manage to keep this Offworld market online for some time. Aja, on the other hand, things are looking a little bit more dicey. It seems like he's been targeted by Dynamite occasionally that's been bouncing off of Soren's Offworld. But the Dynamite and the black market, just the black market advantage for a scavenger player, can truly make or break a game against an expansive, given that Aja has positioned his buildings in a way that's not completely open to power surges, to EMPs, but certainly they're going to have some effect, and there are no goon squads available for Aja in order to counter Soren's attacks, so I still don't see Aja's edge. It seems as though he's moving about resources a little bit more effectively than Soren. Soren not really making a whole lot of money off of any of his tiles, except amusingly the elemental quarries, which unfortunately a lot of the profit from those is simply going in toward keeping his Offworld online, and of course his water tiles. But all of his production not particularly effective at this stage of the game. Perhaps that's where Aja can find his angle back in. But once again, Soren's sitting on about $173,000 right now with Offworld launches coming on through. His goal price